stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no. They won't stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no.
Hello and welcome back to We Are Mighty. How you doing this week? Have you been dealing with your grief in a positive way? Have you been dealing with your day in a positive way? How's everything going for you? I hope you're just a little bit more positive today than you were yesterday, and a little bit more then than the day before. That's the goal, right? We no longer want to live in a state of depression, a state of sadness, even though we will forever be living with grief. At least that's how I'm trying to be. That's my mantra right now. Try to be a little bit more positive each day than the day before. And I think that's a good way to think of it, and that's a good way to go about it. And it keeps me just a little bit less depressed each day. Doesn't mean I don't feel the loss. Doesn't mean I miss my son any less. Just means I'm striving for a more positive outlook. As I've been saying for a while, I know. But I think it's really sticking this time. So today I wanted to go a little bit of a different route. Yes, we're still talking about the grief journey, but I want to talk about it from a different perspective. I've been mentioning how there has been so much death around me lately, and I'm starting to wonder, is it really that there's so much death around me, or that I'm just more heightened, more attentive to it because of what I've been through, that I'm seeing it more and paying more attention because of, living with my own grief. Either way, there's a lot of it going around. And I've seen families going through things. I've seen friends having to deal with just the craziest of things because they weren't prepared. What I mean is, a lot of us don't want to and don't think about end of life planning. We don't think about making sure our family members know what we would want in the instance of our untimely death. And of course, everyone thinks they have time, so they'll want to put it off until later. But if I've learned nothing else, we have no idea. Tomorrow truly is not promised. That's a difficult thing to say and a difficult thing to accept. But there is some truth to it. And I just feel like, from what I'm seeing with brothers and sisters against each other, cousins and uncles and grandparents, just the infighting that I have seen amongst families in situations where there is no instruction, or there's instruction, I guess would be the best word to put it. No planning, no pre-planning done as far as how a person really wants everything to go, not just the funeral. You have possessions, and it becomes a lot of times a knockdown, drag out fight for people who may have not even had much to do with you in life, which is crazy. But it's still, for those who care about you, those who love you, to have to fight those people, those, I hate to say it, but vultures that will swoop in to try to get things once something like death happens. It's important to work on your end of life planning. I don't have much, but my husband and I, we've started having conversations about divisions of things, and it is not easy at all. It's a very, very difficult discussion to have, but I think it's necessary. It's something I'm trying to push my parents to do. They don't want to. I get a lot of pushback. But the fact of the matter is, we've got to have something in place. Even things such as do not resuscitate. If you are someone who feels like once something happens to where you are flatlined and they may be able to resuscitate you, but you may be in a vegetative state, and that's something that you don't want to do, your family needs to know that. I do know someone who's in his 30s who already has at least that information set in place. And it's not, like I said, it's not something that we think about. It's not something we want to think about. It's not something that we want to do, or because you feel like, well, getting something like this in writing is like I'm expecting it to come. Well, we do know that everyone who lives at some point will die. So I guess it's kind of expectation. That doesn't mean you're expecting it to happen tomorrow or later on tonight. But if the unexpected happens, what would your family do? Like I said, in the case of my son, he was younger, so he didn't really have a whole lot as far as an estate. So it wasn't a big uproar as far as where things would go. But think about yourself. Think about things that you may have. Do you have more than one vehicle? Are you married? Are you single? Do you have kids? More than one? Who's going to get what? Who should take control of what? Even if figuring out who should be the power of attorney. Because those things become huge fights. Huge fights. I know someone right now who is in the middle of a court case that has gone on for a couple of years with a sibling who had nothing to do with that parent. But once that parent passed on, all of a sudden the sibling felt that they were entitled to so much, and it has been drawn out. It is draining, my friend, and it is emotionally just, it's a roller coaster, because you don't even have time to grieve the loss of your family member because you're dealing with the vultures. I would never want my family to have to go through something like that. So I guess I feel like, as difficult as it is to try to make those decisions and think of who I want to have what, I guess, I feel like that's easier than making them have to go through fighting it out amongst themselves. I have a friend whose mother, she was terminally ill. And so she literally planned her whole funeral. She told her who she wanted to sing, what she wanted them to sing, who she wanted to read what scripture. And that funeral went exactly the way she planned it. It's crazy, I know, because I don't plan my own funeral. But do I want to put that burden on my family? Do I want to put the burden of finding out later that there's something that someone didn't know I had or I own? I don't have to tell them up front if it's something that I'm keeping to myself. Just have something in writing, or have someone who knows what your expectations are, who knows what your plans are, or how you want things to happen. And that would make it so much easier, because grief is hard enough. Death is hard enough on your family. That's just one less thing that they have to worry about. Even if you don't sit down and discuss it with anyone. If you write it out, have it somewhere sealed, I don't know, get an attorney. I'm nowhere near a financial planner, so I can't tell you what to do. All I'm saying is, you might want to think about doing it. I would have never, ever expected to lose my son at the age of 24. And I'm sure he never expected to lose his life at 24. Did he have some possessions that had to be figured out? He did. It was a little bit easier in our situation, but that's not always the case. There's some younger people who have several cars, several possessions, And you have to figure out what to do with those things, especially if they are owned. Yes, there's a whole situation of dealing with lenders if they have a loan on the vehicle or bills. And I mean, you never think about what all you have to deal with when someone is no longer with us. And one thing I know that I absolutely hated, I had to deal with a cell phone company. And what I wanted was to keep my son's phone number. I did not want anyone else to get it, because there literally are people who still text that number just because they miss him, and I didn't want some random person to start getting that information. And I called them to try to save the number or put the account in my name. And I got transferred to so many people. And the thing that was so hard was having to explain over and over again that my son was gone, that my son was killed, because they were pushing back so hard against me, like there was something that he could do. No, he can't sign the paperwork. He's not here. There's, very insensitive. And just, it was traumatic. And I ended up being on the phone with these people for the better of 2 hours one day. And it was going back and forth between the phone company, and they tried to send me to collections. And then the collections said, no, we have the information, so it's not in collections. Go back to the phone company, and just back and forth. At least 20 phone calls, hours on the phone. And guess what? I still couldn't save his number. Waste of time as far as I'm concerned. And I had to repeat the story of my son was killed several times, because I was transferred to several people within each call. And they weren't able to help me. If he had something on his account, that maybe said in the event, emergency, whatever, I'm sure that would have been a much easier process. And again, it's not something we think about until we're faced with it. So I encourage you to think about your planning. Think about a living will. That's what I'm trying to get my parents to do. Now, I will be honest, I don't know the difference between a living will, the will and testament, any of the different planning mechanisms that are in place, but I'm actually studying them because I do want to help my family, other families who are close to me, to prepare for these things, because I wouldn't want the things that I have been seeing happen around me to happen to those I love. I don't want to see families torn apart. And that's what it's doing. It's literally, it's really tearing families apart. It's becoming unbearable just to be on the outside. So for someone within that family, I couldn't imagine what the pain is really like, because while you're in the middle of the fighting, of course you don't want the other person to see what you're really going through. It's crazy if it's something that can be prevented. And this is something that's just been kind of weighing on me lately. I don't know if it's weighing on me or just something that I'm realizing is very necessary. And I don't even want to say that it's a specific community that doesn't want to do it, or, a specific ethnicity. I don't know that that's the truth. I just know that a lot of people don't do it, don't think about it until it's too late. And you never know when too late will be. It's hard. It's hard to think about your family going through the loss. But again, what do you think would be harder? going through the loss, trying to plan the funeral, trying to plan the burial, and then later having to fight each other for material things, for possessions. Because somehow that's where it always turns. As I've heard some people say, before that person's cold in the ground, someone's trying to get their possessions. And then there's even the situation where if you don't own your home and they have to clean out your items and figure out where everything will go. It may not even be a situation of fighting, but trying to figure out what to do with everything you own. I'll bet you have more than you think you have. Bank accounts. Do you have beneficiaries on things like that? Your 401k, your retirement accounts? I always thought, well, it doesn't matter who I have as a beneficiary. It'll probably change, or I won't need that anytime soon, but you never know. So it's important to have those things in line. It's important to think about it. Take the time to think about it. Write it out, plan it out. You don't have to be in a rush, but it's definitely something that has to be thought out. It's something that has to be planned, at least for the peace of mind for those you leave behind. And of course, we never, ever want to leave our family behind. But you're going to leave somebody behind someday. And you don't have to write it out now and it's ironclad forever. If something comes to your mind to change it, I personally have decided once my information and everything, once my plan is written out, I will probably review it every year. Is this still what I want? Is this still who I want to handle these things? Is this who I want as my power of attorney? I think it'll be easier for them when they have something laid out. But again, you don't want to expect it to be tomorrow. And you don't want, honestly, I hate to say it, you don't want necessarily the people to know what's coming to them, because then you may have to watch your back. I hate to say that, but in some cases it's true. So even if you get a professional, just something that could be notarized and sealed and put in a safe place. You don't have to go to your family members. Oh, I thought about my end of life and I decided I'm going to give you A, B, and C. No. It's literally just making sure that everything is lined up. So if/when that time comes, at least one person knows where that item is or where that paperwork is, so that they can let everyone know, okay, listen, here is what they wanted. It's all laid out here. If it's not all laid out, at least here are these details that we have. Here's how they would like the funeral. Here's where they want their service. It's crazy to think, but even something as simple as where your funeral will be held can end up being a huge deal. And I am telling you this from experience. You would be surprised at the things that can happen in just trying to plan a funeral. It's not easy. Nobody wants to do it. It's one of those necessary evils. But I think it would be so much better off for your family if you could give them at least something. At least something. Now, we don't have to be like my friend's mother who had every single detail figured out. But a general idea would be very good. And I think it would be helpful. It doesn't stop your family from grieving. It doesn't stop the pain. It just keeps one layer from being added to what they're already dealing with, what they're already having to endure. And that's how I look at it. It's how I have to look at it, even in trying to plan. Me going through this pain right now just takes a little bit less off of my family members in the future. And that's how I'm trying to word it to my parents. Because I have siblings, they have properties, they have a lot that will have to be sorted out and figured out. And I don't want to fight with anyone. Even if it's even if it's your spouse. If you have kids, your stepkids, things of that nature, it can just all become a huge convoluted mess. So why not figure out a way to make it easy for them? You can sit down and have conversations collectively, individually, maybe not about every single thing, but to let your family know this needs to be discussed or this needs to be planned. And in the event something happens to me, here's what I want you to know. Try to do it at a time where it's not a bunch of tension, where there's not a bunch of arguing going on, or don't be one of those parents who get upset. See, that's why when I die, I'm going to do. No, that's not what we want. Take your time and have a casual conversation. Try not to be stressful. Try not to stress them. The subject matter will be stressful. But again, that conversation will be very necessary. I can't tell you when, because we don't know when will be. But you want to think about it. Set a plan in motion. Figure some things out. Grief is hard enough. Grief is hard enough. I know a lady, she lost her sister, her husband, and her father in a short period of time. And she had to plan all those funerals. Don't you think if some of that was already done for her, that would have been just that much easier? Because the stress she goes through from that grief hitting her 3 different ways, I couldn't imagine. And I say that to her regularly. I couldn't imagine, because just the loss of my child is difficult enough. To have 3 people and they were a close-knit family, to have 3 people that close to you, to have to go through getting rid of their stuff or sorting through their stuff, sorting through one, and no sooner than you're done with the one, here's another one, another significant blow, and having to figure that one out, and then another significant blow, and having to figure that one out. We don't know why it happens the way that it does. I know they say it supposedly happens in 3s, but 3 that close? Insane. And like I said, maybe because of my grief journey, I've just been paying more attention to how much it's been happening around me. And I wonder if that person had anything planned out to help their family. I wonder how hard it is for that family to have to deal with all of this. Because I know how hard it was for me not knowing anything. So have the conversation. No, I don't expect you to sit down and write out your last will and testament and have everything in one sitting and here it is. But I definitely think it's worth thinking about. I believe it's worth planning and setting it for execution when the time comes. I reiterate, when the time comes. And I know a lot of people who feel like end of life planning is, well, planning for the end of your life. It is, but it's not, I expect it tomorrow, I expect it next week. It's just, whenever it comes about, I want to have this in place. So I know it was a different direction today, like I said, but all of this is part of the grief journey. And this is one thing that can definitely make the journey a little bit easier. Doesn't make the pain easier, doesn't make the loss easier, but it gives you a few steps, baby steps along the way. It gives you a little bit of a handhold, even from beyond, for your family. As you can see, I'm taking this very seriously. I haven't been able to write anything down yet because when I start, I can't quite get to the point where I can get the pen to the paper. But I'm thinking about it and I'm trying to figure it out. Because like I said, it's hard. But I think it's worth it. In everything you do, even in trying to plan for something as crazy as the end of life, be true to yourself, be strong, and be mighty. We're here every other Friday, everywhere you listen to podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube and Spotify. Feel free to email me at wearemighty24@gmail.com for any reason, or if you'd like to be a guest. You can do it. Take a little bit of time to think about it and plan it out. We'll see you next time.
They won't stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no. They won't stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no.